Mm.
Hey, good morning slash afternoon, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us today for AI in Action, real stories from community management leaders who made the leap. Um, my name is Shelly D'Antonio. I'm happy to be here with you guys today. I am the Director of Solutions for HOAI. I know a lot of you guys from just the collective Vantaca and HOAI communities, so we appreciate you taking the time. Here today with three of our friends. Kind of goal for today is to talk about AI in our organizations, and really wanted to have folks that are in the day-to-day of the business talking to us about their experiences, kind of how they think about things and all of that. So I'm going to go around and let these guys introduce themselves. Chris, how about you kick us off?
Sure. Good afternoon or good morning to everyone. My name is Chris Moss from CAMCO Property Management and Five Circle Property Management. We're based in Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and Massachusetts with close to 500 associations between HOAs and condominiums.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today, Chris. Trevor, why don't you tell us your story?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm with HOA Strategies. We are based out of Utah. We service 95 HOA and condominium communities across the Wasatch Front and the Wasatch Back here in Utah. We have a staff of 17 employees that support us, doing this since 2013.
Fantastic. And Grace.
Yeah, my name is Grace. I am the COO for HOA Assist. We're a financial services company for HOAs. We are in 20 states. We have 178 HOAs, condos, townhomes. It's about 7,000 doors. We also have 17 employees and been around for about 6 years.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. Man, 23 states, did you say?
20.
20. That's a
Mhm.
lot of states to keep up with.
Yeah.
A lot of states to keep up with. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, just a little housekeeping as we kind of get going here. If the audience, if you guys have any specific questions that you want to ask or anything to chime in, there is a little Q&A box down there at the bottom. Feel free to shout those in there, and then we might take a couple of those questions live here as well. Um, all right. Well, what kind of where I wanted to start is why AI? So what I'd really like to do is hear from the team on, why did you guys make the decision to kind of, like install AI into your organization, into the way that you do things, and kind of specifically like the timing of that decision. Like, why did you feel like it was the right time to do that? Um, who wants to kick us off?
I'll take a run at it. So
Okay.
for me it was the presentation at CEOMC in Tucson. I guess it'll be 2 years, depending how you look at it. And Mitch made a presentation on the budgets, and I couldn't get it fast enough. And as a matter of fact, I stalked How You until I found them to begin the conversation of how can we begin to use the services you're providing. But just the budget alone was a big tool. And then myself, I know AI is coming as everybody else does, and probably all of us hear it on a daily basis. But that was really my first touch in the property management space to see that in true live scenario. And from there, like I said, it was just how quickly can I get my hands on it?
Fantastic. Had you been using AI like in other parts of the like your industry, or not the industry, but because that was kind of the first in the industry, but had you been using AI kind of just in your personal life or outside of that, or anything else you
We
guys are
had
using in the org?
front end AI with another platform, Stan AI, that was helping us by being able to read our documents and give answers. That was kind of our first dip that we took about 8 months prior to seeing HOAI. So that's where we started, and then from there we got into HOAI right after Tucson within by beginning of January of last year, and have kept on implementing from there.
All right, fantastic. Grace, what about you guys? When like Was there some sort of pressure, some sort of tipping point that made you guys make the decision to get more involved with AI?
Yeah, so for us, it was more accounts payable related. Just being in 20 states, you have a lot of different vendors. We also aren't a typical property management company. We're a financial services company. So rather than like one property manager per HOA, we're dealing with the board members. And so with that, just like that communication flow and our response time, whether it's on invoicing or to a vendor. And so the volume of invoices was just rising. And so having a system that could help us kind of bring the consistency up and also the timing and the quality that we could offer was kind of our big jump.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know AP tends to be kind of one of those tipping points for a lot of different companies there.
Mhm.
Um, Trevor, what about you? Why did you guys get started with it?
Yeah, ours revolved around kind of the same process. We had concerns around our brand promise. Serving the 95 HOA, 7,000 doors. We go out and do the sales pitch that we are very communication centric and very timely on responses, making sure we could fulfill that brand promise. So AI is where we kind of started to experiment and really saw that we could fulfill on those promises that we'd made. With 17 employees, trying to make sure that they do everything the HOA Strategies way, and treat our customers the right way. That's where we kind of saw we could start using the AI to help us.
Gotcha. Now, Chris, you'd mentioned that budgets kind of sold it for you, that's a little bit of where it started. How, like, overall, how different is the experience of doing budgets now that there are AI tools, versus, the way that you think about doing a budget 5 years ago?
Um, Yeah, I mean, it's changed it completely, right? We're used to getting the spreadsheets out and grinding it out, right? And having board members change formulas and all that fun stuff that goes along with it, which still happens. But just to be able to start the process, because it's a big process for all of us at management companies, as everybody knows, but to be able to get ahead of the game by having budgets drafted and projections for the rest of the year within 45 minutes for all of our associations was just a complete game changer there and kind of a relief for a lot of managers as well. And it's funny because when I first saw that presentation, I was sitting next to Dawn Bauman after lunch, and a lot of the people at our table were like, well, no, I want those managers to grind it out like we all did, right? And my reaction was, I don't know. We struggle bringing talent into this industry. This is
Hmm.
something where generations younger than me, they grow up on technology, right? So I think it's a huge benefit to be able to push it. But budgets being able to get ahead of it like that was fabulous and get to our boards faster. Of course, there's some checking on some things, but other than that, it was a big game changer for us, and it was really embraced.
Yeah, that's funny. Making folks do it the old-fashioned way, the way we did, kind of like wanting to share that pain. But you make a good point. Like, a lot of the talent out there today did grow up on technology, kind of cut their teeth that way. So it does feel kind of a little bit natural. Um, Trevor, I think when we talked earlier, you guys had some pretty interesting results from budgets as well. Do you want to tell us about your experience?
Yeah, the budget process for us was great this last go around. Again, we're 17 employees, so finding the talent in the accounting skill
Mhm.
sets and the financial background to prepare those budgets for all 95, I was falling on 1 to 2 people in our office to do that stuff, and it was taking weeks to get through all the data and to really fulfill the brand promise of what we should do for the management company. My background is in accounting, and so we wanted to make sure we did it right, wanted to make sure we gave them great numbers. And so really we focused on our workflow in the system and how the budget HOAI could solve that for us. And we used to have everything start with the accountants and have them prepare a spreadsheet and have them, put that out to the managers. And then we get tripped up with managers not knowing how to use a spreadsheet or not knowing what formulas meant and messing that stuff up. And with the AI system, we actually flipped that to where our managers can just ask general prompts about their association that we've put out there for them, and with those prompts, it'll actually generate all the spreadsheets, generate all the documents for them, and produce that budget based on our brand promise and what we wanted them looking at within a matter of minutes for each association that they do. And so our accounting staff isn't even involved in the front end of budgets anymore.
Oh, neat. Oh, neat. So when you say that you've got kind of that collection of different prompts, what types of things are you putting in there? What type of variety do you have there?
Yeah, I mean, so some of the tips for people who are looking to do this right. We really focused on our document library from the beginning. Make sure we have all the historical financials uploaded. Make sure we had their reserve studies. Make sure we had prior budgets. Make sure we had any capital plans that the boards wanted to implement, so that the AI can learn all of that, and then we could then just create some basic prompts. Make sure you are reviewing the governing documents, finding any threshold limits for increasing assessments. Make sure you're fully funding the reserves and giving us a recommendation for that. So really focusing on that document library and all the historical data, the AI could give us a lot of those answers and prepare the spreadsheets with better recommendations than our staff was doing at that point.
That's fantastic. Um, Grace, how do you think about like how your team adapted AI just in general? Anything in particular that you guys did to kind of pull them along?
Yeah, I think for us, we introduced it pretty slowly in the sense of starting with like more specific ideas that our team had and departmentally. So, as an AP team, how can we implement it? And then moving on to an AR team. Obviously, at this point, we now are all implementing it in different places, but that was really helpful to build the trust of the employees. And then we also kept human approval. So, one thing within HOAI specifically that we really liked is if we find a system that works, you can kind of check the work of the AI agent a little bit, make sure that everyone on the team or whoever's task that was feels comfortable before they auto proceed. And so I think that was really helpful and made it feel more like a tool and less of like a replacement or something like that. So that's been really helpful for us.
Yeah, very nice. Just I guess for any everyone here, any folks that were resistant to AI, do you have any kind of naysayers in your organizations? Anybody that you're truly having to pull forward to get them to adopt that? And what are some tactics you guys are using to kind of bridge over that?
Yeah, I think we're all nodding like yes. So
Yeah.
we started with payables in January, as I mentioned, and it was really a struggle at first because it was it's just different, right? So it really changes everything just immediately. So it was tough for the team to understand that what was going on, and it doesn't solve everything right away. But as more time was spent and making the corrections that were needed and teaching HOAI, the more people began to understand. But I think one of the biggest pieces to it all was being able to have HOAI show us on a weekly basis the success rates as it was going up. That really helped the story inside the company. And then from there, it just became curiosity because managers were getting um, invoices so much more faster. We went from like a 14-day process to down to 3 days of it being able to process payments. So then the rest of the company kind of started to pick up and, hey, what else can we do maybe in our department? Just like Grace said, we went AP to AR. We did the same thing. Definitely some resistance, and it makes you think about things differently and job descriptions and what people are going to do. But at the end of the day, the stats can't lie.
Nice. Trevor, what about you? Any stubborn ones you had to deal with?
Yeah, we have a very similar story, but we started with homeowner inquiries and kind of that customer facing, client facing response times. And everyone in our company is busy. We're all overloaded, right? And so we really used all those emails that were coming in and establishing the workflow with our managers. That really, when we had a clean workflow with the managers, and then they started seeing all those inquiries coming in and being answered when they showed up for work the next day, they could just see that all those emails had already been answered and the research was already done on those, and they could just verify quickly that the research was accurate and then just proceed to send out an email within a matter of seconds. That's where we started to get past some of the hurdles, is when the manager saw, oh, this is really going to reduce my workload. And if I use this and learn to use it correctly, I'm going to have a lot more time in the day and a lot better work-life balance with it. So really just kind of showing them the benefits of what they're going to get from that. We started out small as well with just kind of those workflows, and progressed to where we now have 27 different workflows that are being touched by the AI system. And it's just producing a lot of work that the human doesn't have to do anymore.
Mhm. I think curiosity was huge for us too. Honestly, I was a pretty big critic because it's just a like I'm younger, but in the generation of like just ask ChatGPT, and I'm kind of like, or we can use our brain, you know? And then it was this curiosity of, whoa, that searched. I mean, I've been in the HOA management world for a long time. And it's like the documents. No one likes pulling up rules and regulations to figure out a violation, or when a board member calls and you really are just searching pages and pages of documents. So I think when we all started to realize we can ask this question and it's searching and doing that in a matter of seconds on a phone call or for an email or something, that was just super helpful. And then collaborating as a team and saying like, hey, I put this in HOAI and this is what it did, and people being like, oh my gosh, I can do that for my team or I can do that on my role. So that was super helpful too.
Yeah, and then one step further, I love the ChatGPT because my team loved that. But what really sold it for me was the agentic AI, right? Where it actually did the work for us in the core system. Like my
Mhm.
team didn't have to like copy paste or do any of that, what they used to do with ChatGPT. It's all just now agentic. It actually does the work, it actually steps the workflows, and that's what really sold my team on it, is that we didn't have to do any of that lifting anymore.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nice.
everyone kind of felt like they had an assistant, like
Hmm.
people that you'd probably never hire an assistant for now
Hmm.
have this assistant that they can go to if their teammate's busy or their manager's busy. So,
Nice. Um, so I know we've talked about documents, and like you said, nobody really wants to go read those documents. And Trevor, I know you guys said that when like you put a lot of attention behind making sure that your document library was built. And we often talk about making sure like kind of beefing up your additional info as well. Getting folks to get that information in there so that we can allow those agents to be a little bit more autonomous. What kind of struggles did you guys have with making sure that that knowledge base was good, or any any kind of project plans that you did to beef up the knowledge there and make sure that your managers, your agents were filling that out?
Yeah, I mean that it really is just a project planning, right? You want to make sure you give yourself enough time to get that implemented because really that's what's going to really help your AI be useful is that document and all the library you can feed to it. So give yourself enough time to lay that out, make sure all the managers get that uploaded. So we did have a good runway to get that all ready, especially coming up on the budget season, right? We had a lot of people working to make sure that was ready for the budget season. But it's almost like a one-time lift as well, right? I mean, most of the time it really led to what we changed with our onboarding process when we bring on new clients, is making sure we do that one-time lift with the onboarding and get everything set. Because then year after year, that stuff just kind of naturally builds through our workflows and processes and stays current. So that was kind of there's light at the end of the tunnel with that one big lift to make sure everything's there. You know, and another great thing of what I loved about the core software, right, is the data security of it. I mean, I don't want to give all this document and records to just any AI, you know, so really evaluating which
Hmm.
systems we're using, who we're going to partner with, and making sure like, you know, that's why I loved HOAI and Vantaca is because we could house it all under one company and make sure it was secured that way.
Nice. Grace or Chris, did you guys have any kind of initiatives around making sure that that information was up to date or anything like that?
Go ahead, Grace.
yeah, so just like the documents within Vantage, making sure that was up to date.
That and additional info too, if
Oh,
you have
sure.
any workflows that are kind of using that information.
Yeah, we piggybacking off of Trevor, we really kind of just updated our onboarding process. It has been helpful. It is a matter of a little bit more legwork on the front end. That's kind of with anything within Vanica, of, setting up that action item. But once you get that action item set up, it's going to work really well. And so we do have a couple people on our team that are really integrated into that. We had a couple. Like rocks is what we call them. And so we had people doing that leading up to HOAI. And now that we've done that and changed our onboarding process, I mean, we can really ask HOAI pretty much anything and it will pull it. So that's really helpful for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Grace with the EOS mentioned
Yep.
rock. So
How many EOSers do we have out there? Can always tell a little knowledge, or like little name drops.
but the same thing, we've, followed the process that you got to get all your documents in order. That's really the key to it all. That helps so much for if you have to transition a manager or anything else, but having that focus, particularly with onboarding or even with longer clients, is key.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
I'll add one thought that I forgot to mention too. I mean, through that updating of the documents, we use the AI system to help us be better, right? I mean, there's a hierarchy of documents, like, and they often contradict each other. So we started creating AI prompts to tell us where are these documents contradicting each other so that we can take that back to the board and have them rewrite their documents and get those kind of things fixed. And that's something we really never did in our onboarding process. We just accepted those documents for what they were, but now the AI is highlighting those problems for us so that we can have them fix those.
It's great.
That's really great. Yeah, good use case there. Um, Elephant question in the room. So we have a question that just came in through our chat. Since you're utilizing HOAI and other AI products to this extreme, are you retaining staff? Are there any staff reductions happening, especially kind of as it relates to the accounting world? We always say we want to see you grow without adding staff, but um, folks do kind of feel replaced from time to time.
Yep. For us, I would have to say that's one of the things that I thought about immediately with HOAI was this helps you attack the biggest cost that we all have as people. But the way we ended up looking at it was how do we take some of the people in AP that we no longer have to use for data input and then structure them in a different way for customer service. So for us, we could have seen the reduction, but we've changed that. So I think it's a way to kind of look at both. But we focus more on what can we do with the dollars that we're already spending and reallocate those people to be better, and also how do we just keep pushing the efficiency.
Yeah, we're very similar. We have not had any reduction in staff. That was kind of one of our goals going into it. In order to get the trust of the team, you kind of also want to tell them that, they don't want to use it if they think it's going to replace their job. And so that was a big thing for us too, is if this is an assistant to you, how can it just increase capacity, increase workload, and maybe even make you like your job a little bit more? And then we're
Mhm.
finding other avenues that those employees can step in, collaborate with other team members, maybe even increase our customer service and be more available to our clients. So that has been helpful, especially on the accounting side, actually. We're just unique in the sake of like we don't have property managers, so our accountants actually have to be on the phone with board members more than the average accountant. And so it actually frees them up to have those meetings or phone calls with our clients, which is really helpful.
That's great. Um, I was gonna say, because can I imagine that, especially based off of what you said, Grace, that your folks are kind of delivering a higher level of service than they used to be able to deliver because they're saving some time. So it's becoming more like a relationship roles versus just processing roles.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Um,
we did sit with our team and we let them know what our desire was moving forward with this because that's just the culture right now is that fear of losing your job to AI. And so like a team conversation about that, just kind of encouraging that again to build that trust of wanting to use the tool that we're investing in for our business as a whole.
gotcha.
Mhm.
We had another fun question come in through the chat. What is the most useful, or do you have a personal favorite of all the workflows, all the different things that HOAI can do? Kind of a two-part question. How well do you feel like you've kind of incorporated it doing enough things? Like, do you feel like you're leveraging the platform, or do you feel like you're still pretty specific? And then, what do you think is most useful, or any kind of personal favorite ones out there?
Oof, that's tough.
Mhm.
I think AP is the easiest, right? That's to be able to have that correct. And I think one of the things that I've mentioned before is um, the AI itself and how it works, right? It you don't have once it's trained, it's trained. It's not going to make the same mistake of, say, a particular invoice comes in and it's got all this different things that need to go along with it. Once you train HOAI, it's over. So you don't have to train the staff on it. You don't have to worry about PTO days or anything like that. Like the system just continually works. So I would have to say for me specifically, it was the AP and then also into AR with just, late fee requests and stuff like that. Like so much little stuff that we keep throwing onto it. And then looking forward to what the future will bring of other opportunities to incorporate.
Very nice. Trevor, I know you guys have done some pretty clever things. Do
Yeah,
you
as
have a
I
favorite
mentioned,
workflow?
yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, we have about touching about 27 of our workflows now. We're constantly seeing things that it can touch and can improve upon. And it really is just doing the work for us, which is great. So some of my favorite workflows come out of my staff's invention, right, or curiosity. And you hate to say you want to hire lazy employees, but sometimes if we're lazy, we find a better way to get something done, right? And so I don't think any of my employees are lazy, but all of us sit back and say, I don't want to do this, so how can I get this done? So one of our processes that I loved is that how we handled our physical mail. We still get a lot of physical mail from the demographics in our communities that come in, and our process was to scan that in, have whoever scanned it, figure out what community it's for, figure out which manager it needs to go to, and then route those emails to those managers to handle. We've taken that now to where it automatically scans in and then the AI picks it up and the AI can do all that analysis of the community, the manager. If it's an invoice, if it's some sort of an angry homeowner note, it can tell us what action needs to be taken, and then that'll automatically pop up in that manager's queue for them to take action on. So the person who used to open the mail, open the envelopes, and scan it all, that's no longer an issue for them. And we have our mail instantly with the answer of how we're supposed to resolve that mail instantly in our queue when we show up.
Man, super genius. So now the hardest part of opening the mail is opening the mail. You don't even have
Not
to look
opening
at
the
it
mail.
anymore. Yeah, that's great. Grace, what about you? You have a favorite workflow out there that you guys, or a favorite use case that you guys have implemented?
Yeah, I mean, AP, like Chris said, that's where I oversee the AP department and the client support
Mhm.
department. So that's kind of like my sweet spot is just the way that it saved our time and increased our capacity is amazing. But on the client support side too, just on phone calls, um, I would say people are rarely, if ever, on hold anymore because you're not saying, let me look into that for you and put you on a brief hold. You can just be typing in the question that you might have or, what is their dues amount? You really don't even have to look for a lot within the system. And it's just assisting you to provide that, which has been really, really helpful for our customer service.
That's great. Um, if I can call you out, one of the workflows that I think is pretty clever, and I know it's a little bit of a work in progress with, but the way that you guys do billing statements.
Yep.
So, for the audience, kind of solving that problem of, hey, if my owner gets to go elect whether they want paper or email, and then Grace uses HOA mailers, our friends over at HOA mailers, to send those out so that they have the statements with their nice return envelopes and all of that, but I can't go create paper statements for people on that paper billing preference
Mhm.
in a third party without and still knowing how to charge them and things like that. And so really kind of enabled them to use kind of email statements for anybody who has emails, but then have the AI go generate that third party paper statement,
Mhm.
post some charges, things like that. So really just kind of narrowing in on that variability there for them.
Yeah, statements was one of those things that really took a full day. And now once we really narrow in this workflow, it should not take longer than maybe 15 minutes to just double check everything, if not hopefully shorter. So that's huge.
So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about kind of what isn't working. So if you guys think about your AI journey with HOAI and other products that you guys like other ways that you've implemented AI into your lives and into your businesses, um, what didn't go well? Like what was like what was a challenge that you guys had to overcome or somewhere where you had to spend a little bit more time kind of finessing that out?
I mean, at first it was statements, statements we were so excited about. And I think we just jumped and we were like, okay, let's do this. And there were just some nuances and issues with it. And so
Hmm.
it didn't go as planned. And we're still like, thankfully, we have an awesome team, including you, Shelley, on the HOAI side, that's helping us figure out the nuances and remove some exceptions that we've made for board members and HOAs and stuff. But that did not go as planned, and that was for sure a frustration for the people that were excited for that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but but it's one of those things where we're figuring it out, and we can see the light, and so we know it's going to be really great. But it definitely didn't work at first. So yeah.
fair, very fair. Um, Chris, what about you? What kind of challenges have you guys seen in your AI journey?
I would say the one that we're focused on now that is moving along just slowly is the financial packages, being able to put that together. We have a summary page that is we do by each accountant does. So we're trying to work to get that to incorporate in. It's a little bumpy, but I know we're going to get there with it. That's the beauty of AI and technology. So for now, it's the financial packages themselves, which will be tremendous.
Okay, great. With that financial summary, what type of information are you incorporating in on that?
We're basically just taking easy parts like here's your cash, here's AP last month, this month, here's AR, here's your capital expenditures that you spent for the year and reference back to the prior year as well. So we try to put that within a page to a page and a half before we then get into the financial packet itself. And historically, we've always done that manually. So it's okay, how do we get this information and have HOAI pull that so it's no longer a manual function, and we can still have that page because it's always been very valuable for us.
Gotcha. Trevor, any insights, any big friction points?
Yeah, I was thinking through some of the different workflows we've implemented. One that's been a frustration to me is our Google review process. We've implemented AI to basically scan every workflow and every customer touch point and to give us positive sentiment so that we can then automatically kick off a Google review. It works very well and it gets it right of positive, negative sentiment and can actually kick off the email message, but it doesn't complete the loop of the human element. We're not seeing conversions from when the homeowner receives those emails to actually going and leaving us a positive Google review, right? So it helped me understand, well, AI is not the end all, right? We got to think
Mhm.
through the processes and the workflows. And even though we thought we had a great AI system built for that, we're just not seeing the results of it actually converting with a human leaving us a Google review at the end of the day. So we're trying to give some thought still of how we make sure the human stays in there and how we can get some of those conversions to improve.
Yeah, I think you made a really valid point, which is AI isn't the end all. So it's not gonna really do everything for us. Still need, like, until the human gets the AI that goes, leaves the Google review for you, but then we just have the robots complimenting the robots at that point in
Yeah.
time. Um, but that makes sense. Any other lessons that you guys want to share as far as here's what you should do right, here's what you should do wrong as it relates to um kind of that adoption?
For me, I think you definitely have to have, buy-in from a couple of people to understand and then go from there. As I said earlier in this call, it's, once it got into the company a little bit, the curiosity started and more people wanted to be a part of, hey, what can we do next? Because that's also a great thing from HOAI is, what do you guys want? And all of us as business owners want different items. So, but that to me is one of the bigger pieces.
Gotcha. Excuse me, guys. So wanted to take a couple of questions from our audience. Carol is asking, do you guys use AI to evaluate bids or proposals for any services? Have any of you gotten into doing that when you need to put out a request for proposal or anything like that?
our office has used AI for that. And it's been kind of exploratory. We've used it for about 4 or 5 different requests now. But we do have some of those overcomplicated RFPs that come in. You know, if I get a 10-page request for proposal, I'm definitely dropping that into AI and letting the AI analyze that and give us back the best results we can. So we do drop that in and kind of use the triage and response to have it answer questions of what it knows about our company and how it can best kick out a final product for those RFPs.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I've seen some folks do some really cool stuff. And even not even just HOAI, just with utilizing ChatGPT and some things like that. Like, let me feed it 3 of my bids and then let the AI compare them, give me a nice little chart of, you know, how much is it going to cost? Are they doing all the right things? Information like that. So that's fantastic. Um, Another question from the audience, and you guys be honest. I know I'm with HOAI, but you can tell us when we aren't doing things well. How well do you find, or how do you find that HOAI and AI in general handle emotionally charged messages? Like when your folks are really upset, things like that.
Good question. Um, I mean, it's welcome to the HOA industry, right? Like you're gonna get that all the time. And I think it just helps provide like de-escalate the situation by providing maybe better verbiage than you would have when you're the one on the hot seat receiving that call specifically.
Mhm.
So it kind of helps you process without processing. And so whether it's an email or a phone call, specifically email, I guess if it's like queuing up what's ready for you, it's not responding to the tone, but it is reading the tone and will say, I'm sorry for your frustration. We're happy to look into this further. We can escalate this to our manager. And the other unique thing about HOAI specifically is, and we've had to use this a lot because again, we're not a management company. So you can also edit the verbiage that you do or don't want it to ever use or ever say. So if you never want it to say management company, for example, or you never want it to say to whom it may concern or we're sorry or something, it will do that. And so that's also been helpful because it's kind of hitting that neutral ground, but it's not just ignoring their feelings or their emotions.
Gotcha. Um, do you guys ever get when it just kind of thinking a little bit on the fact that it does kind of stay emotionally stable. So I like to think of it as like the AI doesn't care if somebody's yelling at them. Like you said, Grace, like it's going to appropriately respond, but it's not going to like flip the table and go run out because one more person yelled at them, right?
Mhm.
Um, but with that, do you guys ever get challenged on responses that are coming from AI? Like, do your board members ever give you a hard time? Homeowners ever, respond back that they can tell it's an AI generated answer? Um, and how do you how do you deal with that? Without kind of breaking that trust with your owner, that trust with your board?
Yeah, we definitely have had people comment on it. Again, maybe just that demographic that we're dealing with. It's they want to speak to somebody and have it sound like them. And sometimes it's not even the HOAI, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, our response has kind of just been, we're using this as a productivity tool. And if we're specifically asked, like, is this what you're doing? And something like that, we would just say, yes, we do use an AI tool and doesn't remove anything, doesn't remove the decision making by a person, but it helps us work more efficiently to provide, better communication, better timing, or anything like that. So we have solid responses, but it's gonna happen. I think that was a fear of ours at first, and the reality is it's that's just the world we're living in. And so people are pretty receptive, um, as because they can still call and talk to us, or they still have our personal email if necessary. So.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's.
and I think
Go ahead, Trevor.
I was gonna say I think that's the key is that it doesn't remove the decision-making process, right? We explained that we still have guardrails in place, and there's certain steps that we have these guardrails, and we're looking at that and making sure the decisions are correct. But we've seen it, I mean, it is providing a professional response and an accurate response, and that's what our homeowners and board members want. mostly is they want to make sure they have the right information in front of them. I think it does a good job sounding very human and sounding very much like us, but it does a better job making sure they get the right information in front of them. And that really helps de-escalate situations. I mean, if we can point them right to the source documents, right to the foundational information they need, it really kind of helps de-escalate those situations with those upset homeowners.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say the couple of instances that I had to be brought in for a conversation, I think you said it right, Trevor, is you just got to be able to answer the questions, right? And that's kind of the feedback you can give to the board as well. Okay, the person knew it was AI or didn't think this was right, but we got them the information. Oh, and by the way, here's how this all happened, right? So you can take a look at it firsthand. So, but yeah, if you as long as you have the guardrails that are in place and you're answering the questions. That's what people want.
Mhm.
Um, any the kind of thing you talked about guardrails and how you can give it tone, kind of customize how you want those responses to go. Are you having any issues with the AI kind of almost creating more noise for you, or anything that you guys do to keep your AI tools from just creating noise, creating more work, too detailed answers, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's the key, right? AI is very detailed. And so we did build in some brevity rules around it where we didn't want it giving 3-page answers. We wanted it summarizing it in a paragraph or two. But it's very responsive to that, right? So as we trained it up and taught it, we did try to, hey, let's be brief. Let's just give links. Let's give that information like we would as humans to each other rather than expecting us all to read an essay. And so once we started implementing those brevity requirements and those kind of things, it really did help our responses.
Great, very good. Chris, Grace, anything to add on that? I think Trevor pretty much summed it up.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Kind of going back to the like making the decision to put these things into your business. Um, what were some like little changes that maybe had much bigger results that you guys um maybe like changes that you put in place or anything like that that had better results than expected? Um, I'm thinking templates, checklists, that kind of thing.
I would say two that come to mind are orphan emails, getting them to the right spot, and then also 1099s, being able to take that from a very long process to be able to shorten it up to a few hours versus a few weeks. So those two come to mind for me and right away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, as far as checklists and templates, in Utah, we actually write meeting minutes for our communities, right? So that was something that was very useful to just build in our brand promise, what should be in meeting minutes, what should not be in meeting minutes. And now, as we just step through that workflow, the AI will actually just produce those meeting minutes for us in a matter of minutes. And it's been very helpful for the boards to get their draft meeting minutes, very next day, where they used to have to wait a few days for a manager to draft those, and then we didn't always know if it had the right components in those minutes or not.
Very good. Yeah, that meeting minute trick, first time I ever saw that was one of the most clever things that I had ever seen. So, um, for the group's reference, what we talk about with meeting minutes is if you're recording your meetings, grabbing like the transcript from your recording. So we like, if I'm on Zoom, I'm just going to download my Zoom transcript, and then having the AI summarize that. And Trevor, I think you make a really good point over, hey, this is what I'm looking for out of it. So like, let me clearly define. I need to know who was there. I need to know what action items were put in place. Because AI likes to add details sometimes, as we
Right.
talked about with it getting too lengthy. So uh, could end up with a longer set of meeting minutes than you do a meeting. Um, I want to ask you guys one last question, and then we can go ahead and wrap up for everyone here. But I want to know what your best advice is for, other folks, your friends out there in the industry that haven't really gotten started in AI, interested in using AI in general in their organizations, but just not sure where to start. Um, what kind of advice do you have for folks that are just getting curious about AI?
It's a loaded question. Uh, I would have to
I
say,
like the complicated ones.
yeah, if you really want to start uh, from the Vantaca HOAI side, I think payables is really the simplest one to attack first because we all have to process a lot of invoices. There's a lot to it, but it really gives you kind of key insights to what it's looking for, and I believe it then helps you think about, okay, what's next through this. But I think payables is really the easiest solution to start with to get your feet wet and then move the ball forward from there.
Outside of the world of HOAI, when you just think about learning AI, any other advice for how to get curious about that?
Well, I think you have to read the blogs that are out there and the investigate, right? Perplexity, Claude. I mean, it's endless the time you could spend researching these different ones and pushing through just the basics on Chat GPT. And it's really just learning about it. I mean, it's accelerating so fast, but it is truly amazing how many people still don't use AI to this day. So just play around with it. It won't hurt anything, that's for sure. I would restrict what you put inside of AI on some of them and think about it that way, but still the things you can do to help simplify your life and just learn. And then from there, think about, well, how can I incorporate this, or is there something else I could use to make the company better?
Fantastic, fantastic. Trevor, what about you? What advice do you have for folks that are trying to figure out where to get started?
Yeah, I'd really think about, like I stated before, the agentic AI, right? I mean, a lot of people say I use AI, but nothing important ever changes, right? So maybe pick your key performance indicator that you track as a leader in your company, or track that most consuming workflow that you do. Figure out what those top three workflows are that take the most time and are repetitive and rule-based. Those are ones that you can really kick off to the AI fairly quickly. If it's repetitive, it's rule-based, it's document heavy, the AI is going to do great with that, right? And so really that agentic AI that can actually do the work for you rather than just, asking questions and using it like a Google search, right? I wanted something for our company that would actually do the work for us and start taking that workload away from my managers.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Grace, what about you? Words of wisdom?
I would say just jump in. Like I know one of the guys mentioned this earlier, find a couple people that are willing to really kind of piggyback on that with you or like head it as a team. And then yeah, just find something that's built really well in your Vanica system and let HOAI do the work. It will change the way that you're doing things and you're going to learn in the process because we cannot have all of that knowledge as an employee. And so it's just going to give you better customer service in the long run and like increase your time and efficiency. So I would say, yeah, just jump in, find a place and jump in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I know one of the things that worked for me early on. Um, quite frankly, spoiler alert, I started when it wasn't until HOAI came along that I even jumped on the AI bus. Like I wasn't like using it in my personal life, anything like that. And so when I was like, hey, like we got an AI company now, like better go figure something out. Um, just jumping in, I asked ChatGPT to explain itself to me. And it kind of like helped me go through that. And that's actually a trick that I like we use it with our agent all the time today. Like proposal to do this, like why did you propose to do that? Like I want you to do this other thing. It's like, oh, here's how to tell me to go do that other thing. So I think really kind of using the AI to help us learn the AI can be a big benefit.
Yeah, and I also think it's just really helpful because it's within our Vanica system, but it's also pulling knowledge just from the web. And so with us being in multiple states that have multiple rules that maybe we might not be aware of, it's also keeping that in mind too, which that's just super helpful because it helps us not miss something on that side.
Great point. That's a really great point. Um, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys being with us. Grace, Chris, Trevor, thank you so much for taking time out of your days today. Like I know all of you have day jobs, so it's hard to get an hour away, but And for everybody in the audience, really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us, ask questions, really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.